So, on Meadow Jade's birthday, I'm eating out at the Subway. The fire alarms start going off, and I know it's a grace from the good spirits. And here we have a nickel on the ground, and it's dated 2010, and who knows what it means, but it's 5 cents, and that's precisely she was born on the 5th of the month, and it's actually on the 5th of the month I celebrate Sweden. Pray for Sweden. Different nations I celebrate as it's their time of month, and different people from those nations, and so. And it's interesting because Rachel Scott was actually born on the feast of Our Lady of the Snows, and I didn't know that. And I wanted to print out a picture of a goddess, so I printed out, not like an idol, like not idolatry, but somebody that was a person that gets deified status, kind of like a Metatron, like Enoch. He became transformed into higher than the archangels, and he was a human being that never died. But anyway, so. Rachel Scott was born the year of the rooster, and then the shooting at Parkland took place the year of the fire rooster. And I have a cane that's got it actually has a rooster that's got flames going through it that I found it, and it broke in half, and I kept it because the rooster on the cane, I knew it meant something, and I found it the year of the rooster when I moved into room 17, the day 17 died, 17 are injured, and the dead Kennedys have a way of and the Parkland princess and all the victims of these curses that unite us together, these terrible acts of violence, they have a way of speaking to me. But one way the Kennedys seem to be doing it is the fire alarms, the way they go off at, when I'm studying a new Kennedy, when I first started studying Bobby Kennedy, when I felt like when I woke up in the morning and I said, there's the Ether Bunny, there's the Queen Esther Bunny, Ether Bunny, like an anesthetic they used to give people. And I said, there must be an Ethel Bunny too. And it really, I don't know why, but an hour later, I Googled Bobby Kennedy. I found out his wife is not just Ethel Kennedy, but she also has my birthday too, April 11th. And that's the birthday of Rachel Mussolini. And they had 11 kids, which is a very special number to me, okay? And then, of course, the Bobby Kennedy Jr. is running for president at that moment too. And this, if you didn't see the flowers here, you would actually see the number 1987 is carved into there. I was born 1987, and it says free man next to 1987, and it's carved in there. So I definitely didn't do it. But free man is, that's the meaning of the name Charlie, like Charlie Hebdo, I am Charlie, contains the words I am, which means Yahweh, and Charlie, okay, free man. And, the son of Sam, if you look at the name Samson, it contains the words son and Sam. If you look at the word Manson, like Charlie Manson, it contains the words son and man, and Jesus said he was the son of man, Well, David Berkowitz, man, I heard a voice before I even knew he was Jewish saying King David Berkowitz, and I thought it was the voice of Dan. And so I Googled him and thinking, I wonder if this guy's Jewish. He's Jewish on both sides of his family, but not just that. He's he's got to be of any criminal who's a cold-blooded psycho that would kill people with no reason other than the privilege of killing them or for satanic cult purposes. The way he promotes Jesus is, people say there's absolutely no way this guy is really healthy or really got a good heart, because we've read the letters he wrote to the police, and he's a really creepy guy, even though his kill count wasn't very high. That's another thing about the son of Sam. You would think he's using a gun and he's attempting to kill people with his gun. He's not attempting to wound them, okay? But most of his victims, he's using a deadly weapon that when you're trying to kill someone and you're using a gun, that's the chances of them dying are much higher than a lot of other weapons, okay? And yet, he had more people wounded than actually killed. That might have been a miracle, because it might have been that he needed to have just the number 6 be the number of fatalities, and then the rest more wounded than dead. It may have been because the number 6, it can be like 2018, 666, the number 6, like the M on the Monster Energy drinks, www, like World Wide Web, can equal 666, but www can also equal omega, 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 which is also the symbol for the Libra, a judge, so Nineveh, God said, is going to be destroyed, and he said the very date that it was going to happen, and it didn't actually happen. So as far as this, I am the Alpha and the Omega, that is, Alpha and Omega are like total opposites, beginning and end, so he could be both the Antichrist and the Christ, and he could also do what he did at Nineveh, where everything he says is going to happen, and he gives a precise date when it's going to happen, and it doesn't happen. So, a lot of our prayers do affect, if he has a prophecy, he might not be able to fulfill it if you're doing certain things and praying certain prayers, and whatever the secret of Nineveh is, make sure you remember that. Because things are not set in stone, and there's so many places where God says don't do something, and then later says to do the opposite. And Jacob got blessed by fighting with God and winning and lying and stealing and placing loyalty to a woman over loyalty to God's most anointed man, and above loyalty to God, and being a contender with God is what made Jacob Israel. It's what made the people of the Jews descend from Jacob rather than Esau. The prophets and the scriptures are written by descendants of Jacob instead of Esau. It came through doing things that we would normally think of as sinful. And I call this girl Leah, or Meadow. Meadow is the meaning of Leah, especially in India. And I pray to Nafisa Joseph, who comes from India. And the fireman's got 10. Oh, so I find the nickel. She's born the month of October, 10, and I find the nickel because for 5, and then there's, let's see, there's this right here, 2014. 2014 was, that would have been I would call that the Shinto year. I on the 14th of each month, I always say my prayers to the Shinto kami. Oh, but the 14th, I don't know this is 2014, but, yeah, because 214 is like, that's like February 14th, this is like a Valentine's Day, penny, and now if you think about it, it's, 10/6, yesterday was a very interesting day. Yesterday was the day I ran into an old friend, Jason, and a man came into my room and he took a hit of his meth pipe and blew a bunch of smoke in the air. And he said, "Go panhandle, Matthew, because I know the Lord will provide." And I take my sign and I go out and I'm panhandling, and I'm telling this guy about, he stops me on my car to look at my sign. He stops my bicycle to look at my sign, and I start telling him, yeah, I live in this Twin Cities where I don't have any family or relatives in the state. I live here because my dad kidnapped us and took us to Fatima, Portugal, where there was a solar miracle, and the Virgin Mary had some prophecies come true, and I didn't even know the guy was Catholic, but he was very familiar with what I was saying, and he reached in his pocket and he pulls out a handkerchief that says 1917, which was the year John Kennedy was born, to 2017, the year of my suicide attempt jump off a 3-story building, a few days before John Kennedy would have turned 100, and the very month and year, 100-year anniversary of Mary's first apparition to the children at Fatima, Portugal. Fatima means Arab moon goddess, source of the sun, and the Prophet Muhammad said there's nobody more similar to the Virgin Mary than his daughter Fatima. And one very strange thing about Fatima, she was the most favored of the Prophet's daughters. She was more likable, actually, to the average person than the Prophet was, because the pagans who didn't like the Prophet really liked her, almost to the point of like worshiping her, and that's kind of almost what got her killed. But it's just interesting. You would think they would know where are her bones. They don't know where the bones of the Virgin Mary are. They don't know where the bones of Fatima, the Prophet's daughter, are, and the bones of Denise Naslund and George Ann Hawkins were found together. And the police were holding on to those bones as evidence, to catch this killer. And they just freaking vanished from the police department. There was a lawsuit over it, so that a rosary was buried in the place of Denise Snazzen's lost skull. Okay, that's all they found from her skull, and they found bones of George Hawkins. So now if we could start a secret society of the skull and bones. But yeah, they just totally vanished. And the remains, Jesus Christ at least has like a tomb in Japan where they say he incarnated and went there and lived a full lifespan. So technically there is like a state religion claiming to have the bones of Jesus Christ in a place where they go on lots of pilgrimages and stuff like that. But, if the Virgin Mary had a place where her bones were, or relics or something, we would... there would be so many pilgrimages there. And of course, the prophet's daughter Fatima, there would... people say that there's Muslims that like her more than they like any guy, the Prophet Muhammad, or they even like her husband sometimes more than the Prophet. And that's one of the reasons why sometimes people are angry at Sunnis, but that's what people say. I usually hear that more from Sunni Muslims that don't like Shiites, that they like Ali more than they like the Prophet Muhammad. But I can understand why they would like his daughter more, because she was a very saintly, holy, peaceful person, and she would always just tell me, like, don't follow anything in the Quran, don't follow anything in the scriptures, don't follow anything at all that makes your religion look like it sucks in the eyes of other people. And so that is the first commandment that trumps all of the other commandments, because she would never approve. She would be very sad. But at her time, Muhammad was being bullied a lot, and the religion was being bullied a lot, and she sticks up for bullies. These are obelisks. Obelisks were originally to the sun god Ra, to the sun divinity. These would more resemble Shinto obelisks, because they don't have the Egyptian hieroglyphics on them, and that right there is it's supposed to be resemble like something where the ashes of your ancestors are there, and so the relics of the ancestors are in that thing right there, and it's on axis with a government building where they make their political decisions. So it's supposed to be like the spirits of the people that are represented as by this obelisk that has is representing something where you store ashes and relics of the dead. And they're on axis to the place with a line, to the place where the judges make their decisions and stuff like that, government buildings. So it's about spirits controlling. An obelisk actually is dedicated to Ra, the sun divinity, anyways, and but it's like they're trying to indicate the spirit world controlling the politics, and that was actually what I've only seen that in the doctrine of fascism, actually, connecting to a higher society of spirits. We do not yet have a society open to the free and full advancement of every citizen, whether or not his ancestors were slaves. Okay, and that's like that looks very similar to like a tabernacle at a Catholic church sometimes, where they keep the consecrated bread and wine that you haven't consumed, or like where they keep relics, or where they keep somebody's ashes or somebody's bones or something like that.